The cold, dead surface of what was once Earth stretched endlessly under the gray sky. Jack Turner's boots crunched on the charred soil as he surveyed the desolate landscape with his team of archaeologists and engineers. "Anything on the scanners yet?" Jack called out, his voice cutting through the silence that hung heavily over the barren land. From a few meters away, his colleague, Dr. Alex Reed, adjusted the settings on his portable scanner. "This sector's mostly clear of radiation, but there's nothing much to... Wait, hang on." Alex paused, his screen flickering with sudden activity. "I think we've got something. It's deep, about 30 meters down. The composition looks... it's not natural." "Let's set up over there, then," Jack decided instantly, pointing towards the coordinates on Alex's screen. His other team member, Mara, a mechanical engineer, started unpacking the drilling equipment. The drill whirred to life, piercing the silence as it bored into the earth. Hours passed with painstaking effort, the team working seamlessly together, exchanging minimal words but understanding each other perfectly. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over their makeshift camp, the drill finally hit a cavity. The team gathered around the opening as Mara lowered a camera to inspect the cavity. The video feed on her tablet showed a cavern filled with strange, metallic objects. "Looks like we've hit the jackpot," Mara said, her voice tinged with excitement. Jack peered over her shoulder. The camera panned over objects that were unmistakably technological. Sleek, dark metal with the sophistication only humans could have designed. "We need to go down there," Jack stated. "Alex, prep the descent gear. Mara, you and I will check it out." The descent was tricky, the earth still unstable. As they reached the bottom, Jack's flashlight illuminated the cavern, revealing rows of metal containers and ancient machinery, untouched by time. This is a war vault," Jack murmured, his voice echoing off the cavern walls. Mara whistled softly. "Do you realize what this means? This tech could change everything in the fight against the Empire." They approached a central console, remarkably intact. Alex, now beside them, started interfacing with the console. "This is far beyond anything we've seen, and look here." He tapped a holographic map that sprang to life above the console. "Star maps and what appears to be coordinates to the Empire's capital." Jack studied the map, a plan forming in his mind. "If we can bring this back, we could actually stand a chance at taking the fight to them." Mara nodded in agreement, her eyes scanning the technological trove. "There's enough here to outfit a small fleet." "And not just any fleet," Jack added, his eyes locked on a dusty banner that bore the insignia of the old Earth military. A fleet with the power of Earth itself behind it. As they documented the vault, Jack felt a weight settle on his shoulders, the weight of possibilities, of revenge, and of a future he hadn't dared to imagine until now. "Let's get everything cataloged and secured. We're not leaving anything behind," he instructed firmly, already strategizing their next move. The team worked through the night, energized by the discovery. Earth might be a shadow of what it once was, but its legacy could still turn the tide in a war that had spanned centuries. As dawn broke, Jack stood at the entrance of the cavern, looking out over the ruins of Earth. They would return to Mars with hope not just for victory, but for rebirth. The Galactic Empire had left Earth in ashes, but they had not extinguished the flames of human ingenuity and courage. The fight was far from over. It was just beginning. Back on Mars, the heart of the new human alliance, the atmosphere was charged with a sense of urgency. The capital's skyline, a mix of sleek modern structures and sturdy colonial designs, stood against the backdrop of the red Martian desert. In the Alliance Council Hall, a robust building at the center of the city, Jack Turner prepared to present the discoveries from Earth to the top brass. Jack stood in the council's main chamber, a vast room with high ceilings and long, curved tables filled with representatives and military leaders. His fellow explorers, Alex and Mara, sat among the audience, lending silent support. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jack began, his voice steady, "we've uncovered a cache of advanced technology on Earth, weapons and plans that were hidden away for millennia." A holographic projector flickered to life, displaying images of the vault, the artifacts, and the star maps they had retrieved. Murmurs filled the chamber as the implications sank in. General Carter, a seasoned military leader with a no-nonsense demeanor, stood up. "Turner, are you suggesting we use this technology to engage the Empire directly?" "Yes, General," Jack replied, meeting the man's gaze. "With this tech, we have a real chance to strike at the heart of the Empire and avenge Earth. We can end their tyranny once and for all." Skepticism and intrigue warred on the faces around him. Dr. Helena Sui, a key scientific advisor, adjusted her glasses thoughtfully. The technology is ancient. Are we sure it's still operational and, more importantly, effective against current Empire defenses? Mara responded from her seat. We've run preliminary tests. It's not only operational, but potentially superior to what we currently have. Its design principles are, frankly, ahead of its time. Whispers escalated into open debate among the council members, weighing the risks and rewards of launching an offensive. Jack took advantage of the lull. We have been defensive for too long. It's time to change the game. We have the element of surprise, advanced tech, and right on our side. We can either wait for the Empire to come for us, or we can take the fight to them. His words struck a chord. One by one, the council members began to nod, the tide of opinion shifting. General Carter finally banged his gavel, calling for order. Let's put it to a vote. All in favor of launching a strategic strike against the Galactic Empire using the newly discovered technology. Signify by saying aye. The chamber echoed with a chorus of ayes. Only a few nays murmured in dissent. Motion carried, General Carter declared. Preparations will begin immediately. Turner, you will lead this mission. Assemble your team and start planning. We strike in 2 weeks. Jack's heart surged with resolve as he saluted the council. As people began to file out, Alex and Mara approached him. Looks like we're in this deep, Jack, Alex said, clapping him on the back. Mara smiled, a fierce glint in her eyes. Let's make sure we come back heroes, not just for Earth, but for all of humanity. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility solidify into determination. We won't just strike back. We'll end this war, he promised, a plan already forming in his mind. As they left the council chamber, the Martian sunset cast long shadows over the city. The team knew the road ahead would be perilous, but for the first time in centuries, humanity wasn't just surviving, it was fighting back. The Starship Avenger hummed with activity as final preparations were made for the voyage to the Galactic Empire's heartland. Jack Turner oversaw the loading of the ancient Earth technology, meticulously secured for travel. The crew, handpicked for their skills and courage, buzzed with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. In the ship's briefing room, Jack gathered his team for a final review of their mission. The room was stark, lit by the soft glow of monitors displaying star maps and tactical data. Alex Reed and Mara were already seated, along with the newly introduced members, Lieutenant Sam Hayes, a tactical operations expert, and Dr. Emily Chu, the team's lead scientist specializing in alien technology. Everyone, this is not just any mission, Jack began, his eyes scanning the room. We're carrying the weight of Earth's legacy. Our objective is to infiltrate the Empire's capital and destabilize their control using the technology we've unearthed. Emily Chu nodded, her expression serious. The devices we're bringing are unlike anything in current human or alien arsenals. They have potential applications that could tip the scales in our favor, from energy shielding to weaponry that can pierce through the Empire's armor. Lieutenant Hayes leaned forward, his voice steady. Our approach vector is designed to avoid the Empire's primary surveillance grids. We'll be using the asteroid belt in the Tarkin system as cover before making the final jump to the capital. It's risky, but it's the best shot we have at maintaining the element of surprise. Mara chimed in, her hands gesturing towards the digital display. I've modified our engines for silent running. We'll be a ghost until we make our first strike. Jack listened intently, approving their readiness. Once we're in, we strike hard and fast. We disable their communications first, then move on to their power infrastructures. Alex, you and Dr. Chu will handle the deployment of the tech. Alex nodded, his face set in determination. We've been through the simulations. We're ready. Jack's gaze lingered on each team member, his voice firm. This mission requires precision and unity. We're not just fighting for revenge. We're paving the way for a new era for humanity. Any hesitation could end us. The team absorbed his words, the gravity of the task uniting them in resolve. Now let's go over the mission details one last time, Jack directed, switching the display to tactical mode. They spent the next hours deep in discussion, refining every aspect of their plan. As the meeting concluded, the crew dispersed to their respective stations. Jack remained behind, his eyes on the star map. He traced the route from Mars to the Empire's capital, each star a waypoint on their journey not just across space, but towards destiny. Alone for a moment, Jack allowed himself to feel the full burden of leadership. He then left the room, his stride purposeful as he walked through the corridors of the Avenger. Everywhere he went, the crew prepared with quiet efficiency, their faces masks of focus and determination. Jack finally reached the observation deck, where he watched Mars shrink behind them as the Avenger slipped into the silent expanse of space. The stars beckoned, not just with light, but with the promise of justice and redemption for a fallen Earth. The journey ahead was fraught with peril, but Jack Turner and his team were ready to face it, driven by the undying spirit of humanity and the echoes of their lost home. The Avenger slipped silently through the vast emptiness of space, edging closer to the Galactic Empire's borders. Inside, the tension was palpable as Jack Turner and his crew readied themselves for the mission's most critical phase: infiltration. "Initiating cloaking sequence now," Mara announced, her fingers dancing across the control panel. A soft hum vibrated through the ship as the cloaking device, a relic of ancient Earth technology, wrapped the Avenger in invisibility. Jack stood behind Mara, watching the sensors. "Keep an eye on those readings. We can't afford a malfunction." Lieutenant Hayes was stationed at the tactical station, monitoring the Empire's patrol routes. "We've got a patrol skiff on the edge of our approach vector, holding course, but it's a tight window." "Adjust trajectory by 0.03 degrees, Jack directed calmly. He turned to Alex, who was prepped with the rest of the infiltration team. "Get your team ready. We're minutes from the drop point." Alex nodded, his gaze fixed on the armor he'd donned. "We'll be ready. Emily, you're with me. Remember, it's about speed and silence once we're down there." Dr. Emily Chu double-checked her gear, her mind running through the mission steps. "Got it. We disable their comms first, then move to the secondary objectives." The ship edged past the patrol skiff, its sensors oblivious to the ghost passing by. Jack's focus was unwavering as they approached the drop zone, a desolate area just outside the Empire's capital. "Now," Jack whispered. Mara executed a series of commands, and the Avenger's bay doors opened silently into the cold space. Alex and Emily, along with their small team, moved into the deployment chamber. They were suited up in stealth gear, faces obscured by masks that provided life support and enhanced vision. With a nod from Jack through the comm link, they launched out of the Avenger, propelling through space towards the planet's surface. Jack watched their progress on the screen, his heart rate ticking higher. "Hayes, keep us out of their sensor range. Mara, prepare for emergency extraction if needed." "Understood," both replied in unison, their attention glued to their respective tasks. The infiltration team's descent was swift, the planet's dark side concealing their entry as they parachuted into the capital's outskirts. Landing amidst shadowed ruins, Alex signaled the all-clear to the ship. They quickly moved towards their first target, an unassuming but heavily guarded communications hub. Using the ancient Earth tech, Emily bypassed the electronic locks and they slipped inside. The hub was a maze of corridors and data centers, pulsing with the lifeblood of the Empire's communications. Alex led the way to the central control room, his weapon ready. Emily set up a small, sophisticated device, another piece of the ancient arsenal designed to fry the hub's systems with an electromagnetic pulse. "Just a few more seconds," Emily whispered, her fingers working expertly. The device beeped softly, and then, with a click, the lights in the hub flickered and died. "Comms are down," Alex confirmed, checking his scanner. "Let's move to Phase 2. Back on the Avenger, Jack exhaled slowly. "Phase 1 complete. Good work, team." But as they prepared to strike at the power infrastructure, an unexpected transmission buzzed through their comms. Jack's brow furrowed as he listened. "It's a distress call," Hayes reported, puzzled. "From another human faction?" Jack's mind raced. "Confirm the source. This could be a trap or another piece on the board we weren't aware of." As the team on the ground moved stealthily towards their next objective, Jack knew the mission's success now hinged not just on their original plan, but on adapting to the unfolding complexities of a galaxy much larger than they had known. The Avenger hovered in low orbit, concealed by the cloaking technology as Jack Turner processed the unexpected transmission. Lieutenant Hayes confirmed the source, a human settlement on a remote fringe of the Empire, long thought lost or destroyed. "Jack, it's legit," Hayes insisted. "They're in distress, caught in a crossfire between rebel factions of the Empire." Jack weighed his options, the lines deepening on his forehead. He knew that every deviation from the plan increased their risk, but he also understood the value of potential allies or gaining new resources. "We adapt. Hayes, plot a course to the coordinates. Mara, inform Alex's team about the change in plans." Meanwhile, on the surface, Alex and Emily were close to their second objective, the Empire's main power grid facility. Alex paused as his communicator buzzed. Mara's voice came through, crisp despite the static. "Alex, new orders. There's a human settlement under attack nearby. You're to assist them immediately after you disable the grid." "Understood," Alex replied, a hint of urgency in his voice. The mission's complexity was escalating, but so were the stakes and potential gains. The team swiftly planted charges around the power facility, using the chaos of local unrest as cover. Emily initiated the countdown, and they quickly evacuated the area. Moments later, a series of controlled explosions rocked the facility, plunging the surrounding sectors into darkness. "Power grid is offline," Emily reported as they rendezvoused at a prearranged extraction point. "Good work. Let's move out to the settlement. They need our help," Alex directed, leading the team through the darkened streets, now echoing with the sounds of confusion and alarms. Back on the Avenger, Jack prepared for the next phase. The ship stealthily moved toward the distressed settlement, its sensors scanning for threats. "Hayes, keep us invisible. We can't afford a direct confrontation with the Empire forces." "Roger that," Hayes replied, his eyes fixed on the sensor panels. As Alex's team approached the settlement, they were met by a ragged group of humans, desperate yet defiant. The settlement leader, an elderly man with fierce eyes, greeted them. "We thought we were forgotten by the galaxy," he said, his voice gravelly with emotion. "We're here now," Alex reassured him. "We'll help you hold your ground." Jack, observing from orbit, saw an opportunity not just in aiding these humans, but in learning from them. "Mara, prepare to deploy medical and supply drones. Let's make sure they remember who came to their aid." The settlement, though small, was strategically significant, located near a series of old supply routes that could prove invaluable. As the Avengers' drones descended with aid, Jack contacted the leader. "Tell us what you know about the Empire's movements," he offered in exchange for their assistance. The old man shared intelligence about internal conflicts within the Empire, revealing cracks in their facade of unity. This information was a goldmine, shifting Jack's strategy. He realized that exploiting these internal divisions could be key to their larger mission. "Thank you," Jack said, genuine gratitude in his voice. "Stay strong. We're going to end this war, not just for us, but for all human settlements scattered across the stars." As the Avenger retreated back to the safety of space, Jack pondered the new dynamics. The mission was no longer just about revenge. It was about liberation, about igniting the fire of rebellion across the galaxy. With new allies and valuable intel, Jack knew the path forward was fraught with new dangers, but also ripe with greater possibilities. This was more than a battle. It was the beginning of a revolution. As the Avenger returned to the shadows of space, Jack Turner's plan was clear. Leverage the newfound alliances and information to orchestrate a series of coordinated strikes against the Galactic Empire. The ship was abuzz with activity, everyone aware of the critical juncture at which they now stood. On the bridge, Jack convened a strategic meeting with his top officers and newly allied leaders from the human settlement. The holographic displays showed potential targets: military bases, communication arrays, and supply depots. "We have a window of opportunity here," Jack stated, pointing to the map. "The Empire is rattled by their internal conflicts and our recent actions. We strike now, hard and fast, at these key points to maximize their disarray." Lieutenant Hayes was focused on the tactical screen. "Our first target is the Omega Station on the Hyronnus Belt. It's a major military outpost overseeing the sector. Taking it down will cripple their operational capabilities here and send a message." Emily Chu added, "I've adapted some of the Earth tech to disrupt their energy shields. We've tested it in simulations. It should give us the edge we need." The team nodded, understanding the risks involved. Jack looked at each of them. "This is more than sabotage. It's the beginning of a larger campaign to reclaim our place in the galaxy." The mission commenced under the cover of darkness. The Avenger approached the Hyronnus Belt, its approach masked by the same stealth technology that had kept them hidden for so long. As they neared Omega Station, Alex and his team prepared in the deployment bay, the air tense with anticipation. "We go in silent, hit them hard, and pull out before they know what hit them," Alex briefed his team. "Stick to the plan and watch each other's backs." In orbit, Mara monitored the station's communications, ready to jam their signals on Alex's cue. The moment the team breached the perimeter, she executed the jamming protocol. "Communications are down. They're blind." On the ground, Emily activated the energy shield disruptor. A pulse of invisible energy radiated from the device, and the station's shields flickered and failed. Alex's team moved swiftly, planting explosives and neutralizing resistance with precision. The station was thrown into chaos, alarms blaring uselessly in the vacuum of space. Within minutes, the explosives were set and the team extracted. The station erupted in a series of explosions, lighting up the dark space with fiery debris. Back on the Avenger, cheers erupted on the bridge as they watched the destruction of Omega Station. Jack allowed himself a brief smile, but his eyes were already moving to the next targets. "The strike was successful," he announced to the crew. "Prepare for the next phase. This is just the beginning. We keep moving, keep striking until the Empire is forced to acknowledge us." As the Avenger moved to its next target, Jack's thoughts were on the broader implications of their actions. Each strike not only weakened the Empire, but also galvanized other suppressed sectors across the galaxy. Reports of uprisings and rebellions began to trickle in, inspired by the humans' bold actions. Jack knew this was turning into something far greater than he had planned, a galactic revolution with humanity at its heart. The stakes were high, but the momentum was theirs. The battle for their rightful place in the galaxy had truly begun, and there was no turning back. With multiple successful strikes weakening the Galactic Empire's hold, Jack Turner and his crew prepared for the most daring part of their campaign. The assault on Titan's Fall, the central stronghold, and symbolic heart of the Empire. The Avenger approached, hidden in the shadow of a comet, as Jack reviewed the battle plan with his team. "This is the linchpin of their defense system," Jack explained, pointing to a 3D model of the fortress-like structure that orbited a massive gas giant. Titan's Fall coordinates the Empire's military operations across the sector. Taking it down will not only cripple their logistic capabilities, but will also serve as a symbol of their vulnerability. Lieutenant Hayes chimed in. "We've got multiple squadrons ready to engage. Our allies from the liberated settlements are providing support. This isn't just our fight anymore. It's a united front." The tension was palpable as the Avenger deployed its fighters, weaving through the debris and cosmic dust. The initial skirmish was brutal, with both sides exchanging heavy fire. The ancient Earth technology gave the human forces an edge, but the Empire's defenders were relentless. Inside Titan's Fall, chaos erupted as alarms sounded. Emily and Alex led a strike team directly into the heart of the station, fighting their way through corridors manned by shocked Empire troops. Their goal was to plant a series of high-yield explosives at critical junctures to cripple the station permanently. "We're in," Alex reported over the comm, his voice tense amid the sounds of combat. "Heading to the primary reactor. Emily, how's it looking?" "Clear so far, but we need to move fast," Emily responded, her scanner highlighting their path. They encountered pockets of resistance, but the surprise of their assault gave them the upper hand. Meanwhile, Jack coordinated the space battle from the Avenger's bridge, his eyes flickering between screens. "Hayes, push the offensive on their left flank. We need to keep them off balance." "Roger that," Hayes responded, directing the fighter squadrons. The battle outside grew more intense, starfighters darting between blasts of plasma fire. Back on Titan's Fall, Alex and Emily reached the reactor room. Setting the charges, they began their retreat. Suddenly, a sealed door halted their escape, Empire reinforcements closing in fast. "Trapped," Alex grunted, checking his weapon. "Mara, we need an alternate exit now." Mara, back on the Avenger, quickly rerouted power to override the station's door controls. "Got it. Door should be open now." As the door slid open, Alex and Emily dashed through, narrowly avoiding the encroaching soldiers. Making their way back to the extraction point, they signaled for pickup. The explosives detonated, shaking the station to its core. The structure began to crumble, losing its orbit around the gas giant as secondary explosions rippled through its framework. On the Avenger, Jack watched as Titan's Fall began its slow descent into the planet's atmosphere, a fireball marking the end of the Empire's reign over the sector. "Titan's Fall has fallen," Jack declared solemnly. The crew erupted in cheers, though Jack remained focused. "This is a decisive victory, but the war isn't over yet. We've shown the galaxy that the Empire can be beaten. Now, we finish what we started." The victory at Titan's Fall was a turning point, signaling a shift in the galactic power balance. It inspired more uprisings and drew more factions into the fray against the Empire. As Jack prepared for the final push, he knew the true challenge was still ahead. Not just defeating the Empire, but ensuring it could never rise again. The Avenger orbited a desolate moon, far from the battlefield, as the crew prepared for the final confrontation with the remnants of the Galactic Empire. The momentum was on their side, and news of their victories had sparked revolts and uprisings across the galaxy. Now, with the Empire reeling, it was time to end the war. Jack Turner stood before his assembled crew in the briefing room. The mood was tense. Victory was within their grasp, yet the weight of what was to come pressed heavily on everyone's shoulders. "Today, we finish this," Jack began, his voice resonant with determination. "Our journey began with a desire for vengeance, but we've become the beacon for a new era. We've dismantled their bases, shattered their control. Now, we strike at their last stronghold, here." He pointed at the hologram displaying a fortified planet deep in the heart of what was once the unchallenged realm of the Empire. Lieutenant Hayes interjected. "Intelligence suggests the Emperor will be there. They're mustering what remains of their fleet for a final stand." Jack nodded, acknowledging the report. "We have one shot to take out their leadership and end their ability to wage war. This is more than revenge. It's about securing a future where no one fears the Empire's shadow ever again." The crew listened, hanging on every word. "We've all lost something to the Empire. Today, we ensure no one else does." The Avenger and its allied fleet emerged from behind the moon, engines blazing as they made their way towards the final battlefield. The Empire's fleet was indeed waiting, arrayed in a desperate but formidable defense around their stronghold. The battle commenced with a ferocity that eclipsed all previous encounters. The Avenger led the charge, piercing through the enemy lines with its advanced weaponry. Starfighters weaved through explosions and debris, each blast and maneuver bringing Jack's crew closer to their ultimate goal. Alex and Emily, leading a boarding party, infiltrated the enemy's flagship. Fighting corridor by corridor, they aimed to capture the Emperor and dismantle the command structure from within. As the battle raged outside, Jack received word from Alex's team. "We have the Emperor. The command deck is ours." Alex's voice crackled over the comm. A cheer went up around the Avengers Bridge, but Jack remained focused. "Secure him and start negotiations for their surrender. It's time to end this." With the Emperor captured and their fleets in disarray, the remnants of the Empire's forces surrendered. The war was over. In the aftermath, Jack addressed the galaxy, now broadcast across every channel and to every world once shadowed by the Empire. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter. Together, we've faced darkness and emerged victorious. But our journey doesn't end here. We must build a future founded on the principles of justice and freedom." The celebrations lasted long into the night. But for Jack, the real work was just beginning. Ensuring peace and rebuilding the galaxy would be a daunting task. As he stood looking out at the stars, he knew this victory was not just the end of their struggle. It was the foundation of a legacy that would define the future of humanity in the galaxy. Humanity had stood on the brink and not only survived, but prevailed. The galaxy would remember this day, the day humanity reclaimed its freedom and laid the foundations for lasting peace. Jack turned from the stars, ready to lead through the challenges ahead, forever guided by the memories of Earth and the unyielding spirit of its people.